Namaste, everyone. Welcome to class. Hopefully it's a bright, sunny, beautiful day where you are. It is here in Guatemala. And we're all ready to go. And someone is chatting and I don't see the chat. I don't get up to look at the chat during class. So hopefully it's not important. If it is, chat to Cam and he'll fix it. Otherwise, I'm not looking at the chat. Okay. So finding your nice tall spine and a comfortable seat. It's so important. I can't stress how important it is to have a comfortable seat. And so I'm sitting on a cushion right now. I have 2 blocks close to me that if I want to put them under my knees to give my adductors a little bit of a relaxing sensation. So just finding a seat that supports you completely. We'll have a tendency to lean forward because our hip flexors are often so tight. So sit upright, maybe even lean back a little bit, and then bring yourself into that happy medium. Okay. Your hands can rest palms down on your knees. They can rest palms up in a receiving mode. You can place your hands, the palms on top of the other, thumbs gently touching in your lap. Just find something intentional with your hands. And let your shoulders be completely relaxed. So just notice if you have your shoulders up, just let them slide down your back. And then letting your eyes close gently, just taking a few gentle breaths. Letting the breath deepen just a little, belly or chest. And with each inhale for a moment that comes in, just saying to yourself, I am. And with each exhale for a moment, love. Just repeating that. Just inhaling, I am, and exhaling, love, just for a few breaths. And then letting that intention go for a moment, placing our hands at the heart center, thumbs into the chest. With gratitude, we salute all the great yoga masters, past and present, a special prayer of thanksgiving for Baba Hari Das. With joy, we recognize the excellent wisdom teachings of yoga, Ayurveda, and with vigor, we dedicate ourselves to self-transforming practice. Self-transforming. What do you need today for self-transformation? Usually the very first thing that popped into our mind. And then form it into a positive statement like, I am love, I am peace, I am patient, I am kind, I am good, whatever you need. And repeat it to yourself 3 times. And then join me if you can where you are in one resounding Om. Exhaling the breath out with a nice big inhale to chant. So the breath comes in, just relaxing into it, and then opening your eyes with an inhaled breath. Good. And as usual, we're going to start with those circles because for me, what's tight every day are my hip sockets. And so this is just rotating our torso around the heads of the femurs, massaging the legs, the acetabulum, that relationship of the bone into the little cup that holds it. Okay. Just a few circles in both directions. And then just to try for a moment, just if you have your blocks, just put them out for a second. Just see if your legs were any more relaxed without the blocks. Just see if they relaxed during those 3 or 4 minutes of just sitting still with support. Just notice. Good. And then sitting up again tall, you can put the blocks back underneath your legs if you'd like for this for just a moment. And then I want you to walk your hands out. Keep your low back curve a little, just a little. Keep a little bit. So your tailbone's going to come off the floor. You're going to roll toward your pubic bone. So pelvic tilt anterior. And then your hands are just, mine are tinted. My fingers are tinted on the mat. And I'm just seeing where it's comfortable to go, keeping that little bit of curve. That's all I'm going to do right now is just see where it's comfortable. And I have one leg in front. You probably have one leg in front. And then come back up, walk yourself back up with your hands. Switch the leg. We're just doing our measuring stick. And then place your hands back in front again. Lean over, tailbone's going to peel off. And just see, keeping that little bit of your lumbar curve where it's comfortable to go. Just noticing. Good. And then walk yourself back up, nice and tall. And then go ahead and bring your legs up. Just squeeze your knees for a moment and try to relax your adductors, the inside leg muscles. Good. And then we're going to go ahead and stand up today. Let's go ahead and come up. Take our props with us in case we want our blocks when we go back onto our mats. Great. Okay. So finding your tall Tadasana. So finding your space between your feet. So, we say hip distance apart and we mean that, but I'm coming close and I'm going to cut my head off, but I want to make sure that you see this. These are my hip bones right here. These are part of my pelvis. This is what goes down, and put your fingers on your as is bones, anterior, superior, iliac spine. So those bones are what we want to go down to our knees. And the hips are going to come in like that because the femur is out here, but it cantilevers in. So this is the bone that we want to be comfortable with. This goes to our knees and our knees to the middle of our foot. So find that alignment in your Tadasana. And so for me, it just so happens, I'm going to bend my knees to do that. I have a fist between my big toes. And a fist may be comfortable for some. 2 fists may be comfortable for others. If you have a nice big hips, to say, right? So whatever is comfortable for you, but that is your Tadasana and it's just yours. Not everyone looks the same. So finding your Tadasana, bend your knees a little, and then use your quads, these front thigh muscles, just pat them for a second, and then begin to straighten them. Keep patting because they'll stay active. And the straightening of your legs to lift the kneecaps. The kneecap is in that muscle of the rectus femoris. Lift your toes. Good. And just get very active in this Tadasana. Roll your shoulders up and back and down and forward and up. And then don't drop them. Just release them. Release your toes. Good. So just finding this Samasthiti, which means equally balanced pose. Just finding yourself equally balanced. And keeping our arms right beside us, just lean over to the left. Just lean to the left. Your left arm is super heavy, super heavy. Just be there for a moment. Notice the expansion in the right ribs. Think of the squeezing of your left kidney and come up. And then let's lean over to the right. Squeezing the right kidney. Heavy. And back up. Good. So nice and tall. So from a side view, we hope that our knees are over our ankles, our knees are underneath our hips are underneath our shoulders go to our ears and then up. So if we find ourselves like this, with our shoulders back and our head forward, we want to bring it forward. If we find ourselves like this, which some of us will have a tendency to do, we want to bring it back. So finding yourself in that side alignment. Just being patient and kind. to yourself. Good. I spent a whole 3-day workshop on this one pose of Tadasana. So this is a foundational pose that we so often come back to, right? So just finding and looking at your feet, lifting your feet one more time. Make sure you've set your heels behind your second and third toe. Kneecaps have lifted and straightened the legs relatively. My knees are still soft, so my legs are looking straight, but they're not locked. My belly is in, my pelvic floor is lifted. Good. Then drape the toes down again. And then let's shift the weight over to the right side. Just shift a little bit of weight. Don't slink out your right hip. Just slink a little bit of weight over to the left foot. Lift the left toe, right side, I'm sorry. Shift the weight to the right. Lift your left heel and just be there for a moment. Lift your right toes and press up through the foot all the way through the shoulder. Just pressing up on the right side. And without changing anything else in your body, walk slowly by pressing in and stepping until you get some external rotation on the left leg. Don't let your hips move. Hips stay front and center, completely front and center, and don't sink into the right hip. Good. And then arms out and overhead. Palms face one another, but keep your arms shoulder width apart and just reach up, lift your belly, lift everything up. So this supported tree pose for just a moment. Don't sink into the right hip. You're going to have a tendency to want to do that. I want to do that. Everybody wants to do that. And then for just a moment, walk your left foot back until your heel touches above the ankle of the right leg. So just a little bit of support there, and then push the heel into the above the ankle, ankle into above the heel. Don't press anything into the knee. If you have your foot up, bring it down. Arms are still reaching up, belly is still in, pelvic floor is lifted. And we're just breathing gently into the rib cage. And then let's take our arms out to shoulder height with the palms up. Keeping the palms facing up for just a moment. And then let's flip the palms, pronating and relaxing the arms. And then unrotate and put back the left foot. Reestablish Samasthiti, just reestablishing your Tadasana. Now notice a difference of your right side and your left side, which feels lighter, which feels heavier, which feels different. And then intentionally, the weight is going to come to the left side. Lift your left toes. Shift the weight, left foot to the left shoulder. Right side getting lighter. And then peel up the right heel. Just let your arms be soft. And then we're going to tamp the foot to get ourselves into external rotation, just as far as you want. But don't let your as-is bones move. They stayed front and center. They're going to want to go, or you're going to want to go. Don't do that. Keep everything front and center. And just being there for a moment. Just noticing your body. The left hip stays in. We have like corn cob steaks on our hips. So they're really nice and centered. And then arms up, overhead, flip the palms facing one another. Lift up through the pelvic floor, up through the rib cage. Breathing. This is another great place to say, I am on the inhale, love on the exhale. Check in, make sure your feet are comfortable, and we're going to walk it over in a moment. So just walk, step until you get the heel right above the ankle. And then a little pressure from both legs, both lower legs, into one another. Keep your as-is bones front. Don't sink into your left hip socket. And then very gently bring your arms down to shoulder height, palms facing up. Shoulder blades are down the back. Just in this mode of receiving. You might want to play with lifting and replacing the toes of the left foot onto the floor, making sure you've distributed the weight evenly throughout your left foot. Toes are just an accoutrement. And then on your next exhale, flip the palms to the floor. Reach through the fingertips. And then slowly, let's lower the arms. Just being stable for a moment. And then we're going to release the rotation and find our Tadasana again. And just notice how just standing requires a lot of body awareness and muscle tone and strength. So this pose of Tadasana runs all the way through so many of our poses. We come back to it all the time. And often we don't take the time to realign ourselves when we come back to it. I want to show us a really good pose. Plank pose is Tadasana, right? But we're going to do plank at the wall for just a moment, okay? So I'm just going to go to a wall and maybe just watch for a moment in case your wall is behind you and you won't be able to watch, okay? So I'm going to put my hands on the wall, and my wrist, not my hands, my wrist are shoulder height, then my hands are above it, just like when we're in plank. My wrist and my shoulders have the relationship, and then my feet are not going to be further back or too far forward where I have to straighten and lean back. They're going to be right underneath until I can find my Tadasana. So it's going to take us a moment to find ourselves in this pose, okay? And I have a mantle here that I'm going to run into. So I'm going to move back away from that for a moment, right against my wall. So once I am lined up, all I'm going to do is lift my toes, make sure my heels are not touching so there's no rotation in my leg, and then watch for just a minute. All I'm going to do is bend my elbows. I'm not ever going to move my head or neck. I'm going to get my forehead or head close to the floor, close to the wall, sorry, and then straighten the arms. So the arms are doing it all, but the elbows are going down, not to the side. So find yourself on your wall, wherever you have a wall. It doesn't matter whether you're in the camera or not. Just find your wall. Find yourself nice and tall on the wall. Look down, make sure that in front of your chest you can see your toes. You have them down on the floor behind you. You may need to move something out of the way to be sure you see them if you have a belly or a breast, but just make sure your toes are there in front of your body, that you haven't set yourself behind. Make sure your wrists are out from your shoulder and make really big fingers. Spread the fingers as far apart as you can. And then curl your elbows until they're down. The elbows are down, reaching toward the floor. And then keeping this Tadasana, let's come down slowly toward the floor, toward the wall. I don't know why I say floor because I'm used to plank. And then straighten. So the arms are doing it all. This is really good to build those triceps. Just keep going at the wall. Keep your Tadasana so you are lifted. This is causing a lot of good ankle flexibility. Your ankles are taking the brucks of this movement, and your triceps and your arm muscles are supporting it. Let's do 3 more. Keep your belly in, your pelvic floor is lifted, your breath is in your chest. And one more. And then come back into neutral and relax your arms and find your Tadasana. So you can stay at your wall. It's uncomfortable for me at the wall because have to get so close to it to miss the mantle. So I'm coming back out in front with you. Okay. So now thinking about Tadasana, thinking about plank pose and how we come back into Tadasana every time and require the strength of plank. So you know how much effort it takes to do plank on the floor. And that's because we aren't accustomed to finding the Tadasana necessarily in the pose. So spread your legs apart. So wide-legged, Upavista, Konasana, wide-legged, widespread leg pose. Good. Wiggle your hips a little just to massage the acetabulum, a little bit of lubrication. And I want us to keep the Tadasana in our upper body and realize what's going to happen with the legs. So as we rotate the left leg, the right leg is going to pivot a little and the trunk will follow micro movements. Okay, so I'm going to pick up my heel, and as I move, you can see the belly button went from front and center a little bit over to the left, and then I'm going to come out of it. And then you'll see my belly button goes a little bit over to the right and out of it. And the back leg also requires a little bit of adjustment. If I don't have the heel out to not torque the knee, I have to adjust. And then this side. And it's easy, not easy, but it's important for us to understand the Tadasana that happens here. So when I turn, to keep that upward movement and my legs evenly separate, I need to lift, okay? So let's do that together. Bend the knee, lift the left heel, rotate, press into the foot and really feel yourself upright. Feel the Tadasana. Just feel it through your rib cage, through your belly, so there's no leaning over to the left side. You're upright. Then bend your knee and come back. And you can make a tiny little movement to adjust that. And then lift up your right leg, pivot on the foot, straighten the leg, make sure you're upright, find the Tadasana in the pose. You can kick out your left heel a little. That'll also give you some space right here in the groin muscles. And then lift up and unrotate. Good. Let's try one more time to either side. We're not really adding anything to it today. I just want us to find the stability right here. So we're not going to do our warrior series or anything. We are going to go to the floor in a minute and do some plank. Okay. And then bend and straighten. Good. And really press through the feet. So really feel the strength coming from your rooting down. So root to rise. And then bend the knee. And then heel toe until you find your Tadasana. So just stepping back into your Tadasana, pelvic floor lifts, belly stays engaged, breath is in the ribs, head is stacked over the spine. Make sure your chin isn't jutting forward or you haven't pulled your chin back and shoulders moved forward. So keep trying to just find alignment as much as possible to be able to relax. So our alignment isn't to look like a pretty picture of an asana. Our alignment is to find that perfect space in our body where we can have a little respite, a little relaxation, a little letting go. And so when you're feeling Samasthiti in this pose, when you're feeling equally balanced, it's easy to relax the muscle to the bone and have a little bit of a respite in the middle of a practice before you have to reactivate the muscles and start again. So right now, everything is active. And then try to relax your legs, your pelvis, your torso, your arms into it for a moment. And then notice the reactivation. So lifting up through the feet, through the legs, through the pelvic basket, the belly, the shoulders. Good. So everything reactivates. So feeling the difference in that. Okay, so we're going to go down to the floor. We're going to go down into a toe balance. Let's come do that to get there. Okay, if you want to hold a wall or a chair or anything to go down, we're just going to bend the knees and come up onto the ball of the foot, just right to the ball of the foot. I grab the wall coming down. You can you can keep a hand on the wall. You can rest your hands on your legs. You can bring your arms in front. So think about Tadasana here. So our hips are right on over our heels. We can feel maybe even feel that our sit bones are making contact somewhere with between our legs, our feet, and our ankles. So still the principles of Tadasana, just pleated at the leg Tadasana. We still want our spine upright and the head balanced on top. And then slowly, like take the hands to the floor. Lay out your feet if you can for a moment. If you can, with it being comfortable, just lay them out for a moment. And then let's place our wrist right underneath our shoulders where we had it on the wall. Okay, good. And our knees hopefully are right underneath our hips, and we're pressing the tops of the feet into the floor. So pull in your belly, lift your pelvic floor, and just gaze at the floor for a moment. So we're going to do just a little experiment about a side plank, just an easy version. So extend back your left leg, just extend the left leg back. And then walk the left foot until it's in front of the right foot. So you put it on one ski. You're on a slalom ski. We're going to pivot out the shin of the right leg and open it to the side as we roll onto the inside of the left leg, and then come up into a side plank. Good. So you may need to readjust. And then come back down, unpivot, put the leg back on train tracks, and then release the knee. Okay, other side. Reach back through your right foot. Walk it over in front of the left toes. And then pivot open and on to the other leg. I have to come up onto my tented fingers to find any Tadasana here. Check in with your tented fingers. If I stay down, I have a big curve. So I need to come up, and if I had a block and had put it there earlier, I would be doing that. And then I'm going to cartwheel the arm over, unpivot the leg, and then come back on train tracks, and then release the knee. Good. And then reestablish. So now we're going to look for the Tadasana in our pure plank pose for a moment. So curling the left toes under, press through the heel. So get it just with one leg first. And your wrists are underneath your shoulders. Your hands are completely in front of your shoulders. And then right leg to meet it. Pull in the belly. And then drop to your knees. So let's just walk the plank for a moment. So left leg extends, right leg extends, left knee bends, right knee bends. Left leg extends, right leg extends, left knee bends, right knee bends. One more. Left leg extends, right leg extends, left knee bends, right knee bends. Good. And then we're going to do one more version of a side plank. You're going to reach back into plank and think about rolling onto the inside. But as soon as you put down the side of your right foot, bring your left foot in front and have the whole support of your left leg. As soon as you get to the side of the foot. Good. And then cartwheel it over and come back. Find your plank, drop to your knees, rest for a moment. And then one more time. Full plank. Good. As soon as you roll onto the outside of your right foot, left foot, bring your right foot right in front and finding your plank. Don't drop into your left hip. Keep the hip lifted and integrated. And then cartwheel the arm over, reach back through your plank, belly in, knees down. And then go ahead and bring yourself into child's pose, wide-legged. So knees apart, toes together. And come down. Let's come down first to our forearms. This is sort of a Kurmasana, a frog pose. Good. So we're on our forearms looking forward. We could leap as a frog at any moment. And then this is going to come from our upper spine, not our low back. Push into your hands, take your elbows out to the side, and then make a little pillow with your fingers and rest your forehead or chin to the floor with a little pillow there. Breathing. And then begin to push your hands and head up, coming up again, finding yourself again right on your forearms, just right on your forearms, looking out in front. Good. And then bring your hands where your elbows were, come up a little bit more. Great. And then just come through a little bit of a wide-legged table until you get yourself back. You can cross your legs behind you and then find yourself seated again in just our easy pose. Okay. And I want you to check the difference of what you had at the beginning of class. So when you walked forward and your pelvic bowl tilted, are you going any further forward now? Is there any more opening at the hip now? Just check it. And then use your arms, walk yourself back up, change the foot that's in front. And again, walk yourself forward with what's comfortable. Tailbone peels up. Anterior tilt to the pelvic basket. Just notice if it's different and then walk yourself back up. Good. So from here, we're about to head down to the floor. I'm going to recommend that you take a block with you. You're going to lie down and do just a little bit of looking for plank in bridge pose. If you're inverting, if you're not inverting, feel free to take a little extra shavasana, because especially if you're on your menstrual cycle. But if you're not inverting, let's look for a Tadasana on the floor, an active Tadasana on the floor. So not Shavasana. Feet are flexed, legs are flexed, everything's flexed. You have low back curve, you have cervical curve. So not just melting into the floor. Find that Tadasana. So either way, and if you're, so let's look for 1 second before you go down so that you're not craning your neck around in a moment, okay? So I want to look for Tadasana here just by creating a space that I can have a nice diagonal line from my shoulders to my knees. I'm going to have the bend at the neck, so that's not going to count. But this position I'm looking for, so that we can realize there's no back bending here more than what we have with our natural curve of our lumbar spine. The back bend comes in bridge when we actually lift and add a back bend in our thoracic spine. So find the Tadasana, and you can just stay in that Tadasana pose today. That's also fine. Just staying in that diagonal line, lifting your belly and realizing the difference. And you can watch your breath in your belly. So you'll take bridge or the diagonal line, or you'll lay on the floor in a Tadasana. So feet are flexed, arms are, little fingers are in the floor, thumbs are reaching to the ceiling. Your feet are hip distance apart. You have your lumbar curve. You could, a nice sized mouse could go under it. A nice sized mouse could go under your neck, your cervical curve. So a very active Tadasana on the floor. So either one, I'm going to mind the time. So just playing with it for a moment, just noticing how your body is in that alignment. Just noticing. And if you're on the floor in Tadasana, just let go and just find that relaxation that comes from letting it go. If you're in in just the diagonal line, just notice that it's not a bridge. And if you're in bridge pose, maybe bring yourself back to that diagonal line to understand the differences that are required in the back bending in the thoracic spine. And then everybody meet on the floor in that active Tadasana. So just lying down and making sure that you have your whole body activated. So your feet are that same knuckle, fist apart, right? Your big toe knuckles are about a fist apart, right in front of your as is bones. And you have your lumbar curve, you have your cervical curve behind your neck. Your little fingers are in the floor, your thumbs are toward the ceiling, your buttocks are active, everything's active. Muscle is wrapped to bone. And then release. Let your hands flop out, let your feet flop out. Let's do that 2 more times. So just noticing the difference in the muscle activation and relaxation. Okay, again, flex the body. Hands back, palms are facing your body. Feet are flexed, toes to the ceiling. Good. Shoulders are back and down. Shoulders are rolling down towards your pelvic basket. And then release. Arms float out, feet flop out. And then one more time. Just activate, reactivate muscle to bone, hugging in. Notice how much muscular energy is required to do this, even with you laying on the floor. So imagine when you're up. Imagine when you're in the middle of an asana practice and you're returning to this pose time and time again. And release. And now let your legs spread apart a little bit. Let your arms move away from your body a little bit if you can, if the floor is not cold. But don't feel trapped by your mat for finding your Shavasana. Hands need to stay below the heart. And just seeing what muscles you can let go in your feet, in your lower legs, your shins, your calves, in your knees, in the thighs, in the front, in the back, and the sides, in your lower pelvic basket, your hips, and your belly, and your upper torso, the chest, the whole barrel of the chest. Down your arms, all the way through the forearms into the fingertips, and then back up the arms and into the shoulders and through the neck and the head and the face. Can you relax your face? Just letting go. Just noticing your inhale, I am. Exhale, love. Don't control the breath, just name it. Just describe what's happening. I am on an inhale, love on an exhale. Surrender, letting go. Gently beginning to bring your senses online. Imagine, if you will, a rose, a fragrant, fragrant red rose. Notice the color and the form. Notice the smell. The touch of the rose petals, soft. The taste of the rose, like sweet rose petal jam. The sound of the rose, it's brushing against your skin. Just letting that red rose turn into that love that you are. Beginning to move your fingers and twinkle your toes, just bringing everything back online with the body. You're going to make your way slowly over into embryo. You can stretch out, you can shrink in, just making your way over as gently as you'd like into embryo pose. Take your time. And then once you're in embryo, just noticing that what happens. We've been in corpse, where we can leave behind anything that no longer serves us. Now we're in embryo, where we have this beautiful opportunity of new beginnings. And then we lean over toward the floor and then press the floor away and spiral yourself up gently into a comfortable seat. Just take your time. When you get there, just be still for a moment. Let the asana do their magic. And then on your next inhale, letting your eyes flutter open. We're going to move into a little bit of pranayama and meditation. And so making sure you have whatever you need for meditation now, so you don't have to disrupt yourself between those. Keeping our mind and body as still as possible so that we are open to a meditative state. So if you want a little blanket or you want something over your legs, you want to wrap a shawl around you, whatever you might need for your meditation, just grab it and come back and get into your comfortable seat. So without changing it, just noticing the breath. So today our practice is going to be Nadi Shodhana, cleansing the nadis, balancing our energy body. And almost everyone knows this practice. Babaji taught it to us using a full yogic breath and moving slowly and gently and softly and smoothly. He said you could have a feather right underneath your nose and it wouldn't move on either the inhale or the exhale. So learning to pace yourself between the horseshoe breath. So the full yogic breath is one that we breathe into the belly and then into the chest in one breath, and then a slow, gentle exhale. I don't check the chat during the meeting, so hopefully you can not not write because I see it and I want to respond and I can't. So maybe don't write until we're done, and then we have 15 minutes for talking and checking in, unless you can't hear me or something's really wrong, and then maybe Cam will tell me. So Nadi Shodhana. Babaji taught it softly and gently and smoothly. So the breath comes into the belly and then moves into the chest, and then a slow, gentle, smooth exhale. The breath comes in like a horseshoe, usually entering the left, exhaling right, inhaling right, exhaling left. So even if you don't know the full yogic breath, just breathe gently, breathe fully and gently. We're going to do it together. You can use the hand mudra. You can either put the two fingers at the third eye, use your thumb for your right nostril, ring finger for your left, or you can tuck in the fingers in Vishnu and still ring finger left, thumb right nostril. You want to make sure you're not pressing into your chest. The arm is soft and the shoulder blade is comfortable. You can even try by holding on to the arm as long as you're not leaning forward. The shoulder blades are back and down. You're welcome to forget the hands completely, leave your hands on your legs and just imagining the breath coming in and out and in and out one nostril, okay? So whichever option you decide, I'm going to use Vishnu Mudra. I'm getting my arm ready so that I'm ready to go. We're going to start by exhaling the breath all the way out. This practice is good for everybody. Closing off the right nostril, inhaling left. At the top of the inhale, we'll switch fingers, exhaling right. Inhaling right. Top of the inhale, switch fingers, exhaling left. We always switch at the top of the inhale. Inhaling left. Switch fingers, exhaling right. Inhaling right. Switch fingers, exhaling left. Continuing at your own pace. You may go a little faster, a little slower, whatever you'd like. If your arm gets tired, relax it and come back. Or just envision the breath going in and out the nostrils, creating this horseshoe pattern. If you're comfortable with the practice and the method and the mechanics of it, bring your attention into the third eye, Ajna Chakra. Make sure you're upright. Don't lean forward. You'll bring this practice to a close with an exhale out the left nostril. And then as you bring it to a close, just sitting for a moment and feeling the effects. Take the time. And then gently allowing ourselves to slide into meditation. Spine is erect, shoulders are relaxed, tongue is relaxed in the mouth. Eyes are soft in the sockets, gazing at the floor or eyes completely closed. We're picking up, I am love. So not controlling the breath, there's no yum at all, no restraint at all. Just naming what's happening. I am love. Aham prema. Aham prema. You can bring back in the vision, if you'd like, of that red rose representing love. Or you're welcome to take your focus to Ajna Chakra. Pure love. Aham prema. I am love. Aham Prema. I am love. Bringing the meditation to a close, releasing the mantra, the visualization, just sinking into your own thoughts. What was your intention? Bringing that intention back into your heart space, back into your mind. Ponder it for just a moment, what you thought you needed. And then bringing the hands to the heart in Anjali Mudra. Any merit we may have earned this morning in our diligent practice of yoga, we lift it up to the welfare of all sentient beings. Remembering your intention and letting that float down into your heart space and symbolically from your heart space right into the palms of your hands, and then lift it up and just let it go off into the universe, bringing the hands back into the heart. Hari Om Tat Sat. Namaste. Okay, thank you so much. I'm coming to you. I'm just going to have to unwind my already asleep legs. Great. Okay. Let me get it where I can see you. Get rid of this spotlight. Get it into my gallery view. Good. And then I'll fix it where you can speak. That's fine, Antonia. Thank you, sweetheart. Yeah, I hate to be so weird about putting something in the chat during class, but I always think it means something terrible is wrong. So it's really good to wait until the end. Great. Excellent. Okay, so any questions about class? How did you feel about that Tadasana? Trying to find that Samasthiti in that very centered pose. As I said, I had a Iyengar teacher one time who was here in Guatemala visiting, and she had just studied with Gita Iyengar, Sri Iyengar's daughter, also that is now left her body. And the whole weekend was Tadasana, working on it, going through another few poses and seeing how it related to what happened in the other poses and coming back to it for 3 days. And I never got bored. I also never felt like I totally had the pose. So I think now I more or less do have it. I feel really stable when I'm there, but some days I don't, so just realizing that just being still and stable, it can be a challenge to us in our physical bodies, just finding that stability there. And any particular questions about plank at the wall or plank on the floor, or finding that Tadasana when you need that arm strength? Any occurrences that happened? Right. So yeah. So Kyla's saying she has what feels wobbly and will sometimes feel herself shifting left to right. We all do that, right? We all do that.
Yeah, I thought it was a challenge to, and I'm glad you mentioned not to put your elbows out to the side, but to put them down. It really was obvious that it then worked the triceps, where it had not
Right.
much for.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it has to be very intentional, and because that's the way you go to the floor when you're in, when you're going to go down to the floor into either chaturanga or six parts bowing or whatever you're going to. It's the elbows are staying bent exactly like that. They're not out to the side ever. They're right under, and so you need that tricep strength. You really need that to be able to make that hold all the way down to the floor, right? Yeah, so realizing that is very, very helpful. Also, not having the hands back. People will just they'll have their hand underneath their shoulder, just a smidgen, instead of the wrist underneath the shoulder. And that compromises the whole joint capsule, just as having it that little too far forward. And so that's why I'm always emphasizing the wrist is right underneath the shoulder, not the hand, right? So you literally have your palm in front of your shoulder. Yeah. And how about your pelvic tilt? Did you notice that once you had worked through with Tadasana and worked through with a little rotation on either side, your pelvic tilt was different when you came back at it at the very end? Did that happen for folks, or it didn't happen? Yeah. Thanks, Michelle. Yeah. So that when you tilted forward, your anterior tilt was more comfortable. You felt like you went even a little bit further down.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I definitely went further, but the rest of it, the plank and the parts of the plank which I struggle with I found very, very demanding today.
Plank is it's a very challenging pose, but it is such a good strength builder.
Yeah.
And for us women who have a little bit more predisposition to osteopenia and osteoporosis than the guys do, weight bearing poses are really important that we add them, all the time. And building up to doing like a plank and mountain, just going back from mountain to plank and plank to mountain and mountain to plank for 5 minutes, 10 minutes is really, really good. Yes, Tina saying she finds it very useful to consider the body's relationship to the force of gravity. For example, not okay to tuck tailbone in standing Tadasana, yet uniquely okay in plank. Although I don't tuck it in plank either. It just depends. My tailbone is reaching back to my ankles, as is my pubic bone. Yeah. So it's every body is different, right? And really respect it. If I tuck my tailbone, I pop out my, so I'm always thinking about in everything, my pubic bone and my tailbone reaching equally, if my legs are straight, that my pubic bone and my tailbone are reaching equally down on either side of my ankle bone. I'd have to look at Bonesy, my skeleton, to make sure that that's exactly really what's happening. But here's my pelvic basket, right? Here's my pelvic basket, and here's my tailbone, and here's my pubic bone. And where you see my elbows are my ankles. So I'm just trying to keep it all, lined up and going down. Yeah, walking plank is a really good way to improve. You're welcome, Yagna. Nice to see you last night. Yeah. Yes. Surya Prakash, you have a question.
Yeah, I'm shopping for a laptop today and wondering if anybody has any recommendations for a basic model that'll do well with Zoom.
I think whatever you choose, I talk to a salesperson. I go through Toshiba and HP. Those are my two brands that I really love, but I'm not really into a Mac. I don't understand Mac, except I do fine with my iPhone and my iPad. So I think it's just personal choice, Surya Prakash. I think all of them nowadays are good. Just get plenty of memory. The most important thing is plenty of memory and a good internet service. Because no matter how fabulous your computer is, if you have crappy internet, it won't work. You're so welcome, Nancy. Thank you. Thank you. And how was everyone with meditation this morning, with trying to pull little threads of that meditation through the practice? And I hope you feel love all the way through the day. I hope you feel you are love. I really hope you feel that center. And I feel that red rose all of a sudden just popped into my mind, and rose petal jam popped into my mind. And Manipata knows how delicious that is. And all I could think about was that smell of rose petal jam and red roses. And I thought I should share it with you. Not just about as pretty as Tina's dahlia that she has for her picture now. Yes, Yu Chen.
Hi, Ginger. I'm so grateful for another beautiful session today. And I didn't pay attention to Tadasana. I just think, oh, it's a transition phase. And then I'll rush through the other fancy poses. And today I just realized, whoa, that's actually the foundation, like the tree where you have different variations and all aligned to the tree trunk. This is how I feel today. And that's so beautiful. And I feel the same yesterday. The meditation, even though it's shorter than yesterday, I feel this kind, if I use one word to describe, I would say stable. By stable, I'm not just saying body stable. I feel the whole, including the mind. I feel at least a brief moment of steadiness in the meditation. So that's something I feel, wow, that's amazing.
That is amazing. I'm so glad you have that experience, Yu Chen. I'm so glad. What a wonderful experience to have. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, may we all be so lucky.
I have two, maybe I'll first ask one question just in case we don't have enough time. I think at one point we have the supported tree pose, and maybe I didn't hear clearly because my mind went away. I'm absent-minded a little bit. So I remember either the supporting, the standing leg. So this is the supporting leg. There's a standing leg, the feet. Do we lift our heel or toes? I remember lift
the toes, just the toes.
Oh, okay.
Because when you lift the toes, like here's your foot, and some people will throw their weight into their toes without realizing it. So when you lift the toes, then you balance on the four corners of the foot, right? You really distribute the weight, and then you just kind of drop the toes back down. But, it's good, especially for those of us who have a tendency through life to throw ourselves forward into our toes, like we're getting ready to go somewhere, but we're not. And so then when you lift the toes, it just makes you recenter everything in the foot itself. and then you just drop the toes. Yeah.
Oh, that's so helpful, because I think I heard lift the toes, but my mind tells me to lift the heels. Maybe that's just my tendency always lean forward. So yeah, thank you so much for clarification. That's so helpful, and it's actually related with the life philosophy as well. Wow, that's really inspiring. Thank you.
Oh, I was recording, Cam, and I am recording. I started the recording on time. I don't know what happened. Maybe we're both recording. Or maybe it went back out because you were my only co-host. But I looked up and I never had the red dot because last time it started, it wasn't me. It was Zoom. They just kicked me out completely.
Oh, maybe it's different now when you're a co-host. Maybe I record to a different location when I do record in the cloud.
I don't.
So
really? Well, let's see what happens after class. We'll WhatsApp.
Okay.
Because mine said recording the whole time. So we'll see. Yeah. And you could check and see if you got that Tuesday. You didn't hit the recording then though. So Yu-Chen, you had one more question. Let's see if it's something that.
Yeah, so I'm wondering the difference between inhale, the alternate breathing, the difference between inhale from left and right. So we're alternating.
Right. So the right side is our solar side. It's the strong side. And the nadi that comes out the right nostril is pingala, which is strong and masculine and forceful and solar. And the nadi that comes out the left nostril is ida, which is feminine, lunar, soft. And so when we're coming in and out of both nostrils, we're balancing all of the nadis in the body. So those two major nadis and Sushumna, the one that goes in the center that Kundalini and all of the chakras are embedded in. So all of the two sides balance. It depends upon the particular classical text that you read. Some of them, they all start at the base of the spine down below Muladhara chakra. And then they either come up, and in the Upanishads, they just come right up. They just come right up either side and out the nostril. Right from the base of the body and all the way up and through. And I'll talk to you about why I think standing poses that have external rotation on either side are kind of a gross form of Nadi Shodhana, because the same thing that comes out your nose is down in your hip sockets, right? Down around your pelvic basket where you're rotating and stopping that energy, just like stopping the energy on your nose. So, in Tantra, there are a couple of ways of looking. One text has them crossing over into the chakras, has them going through the chakra, and the other one has them going around the chakra. So we don't really know how Ida and Pingala work internally because they're subtle and we don't see them when we cut a body open. But the three schools of thought all agree. Pingala is the right nostril, Ida is the left nostril, and we balance that feminine, masculine, solar, lunar energy within ourself completely by Nadi Shodhana. Yeah.
And that's characterized by the breath out, right? So we're mentioning because there's in and out.
It's characterized by the in.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you.
So Surya Vedana, when you're doing only one of them, you're inhaling right, exhaling left, inhaling right, exhaling left. That's Surya, that's solar. And when you're inhaling left, exhaling right, inhaling left, exhaling right, that's lunar. Yeah. Yes, Jean had a question, and then Jolanta.
I thought it was just my tendency to be spaced out, but I had the same experience as Yu-Chen, that I felt like I was actually in a dream, and which I don't infrequently feel like, but anyway, I felt like a grounding, teaching dream state. And it was in slow motion almost.
Wow.
Wow.
It was great.
Thank God, literally. Thank God. I'm just a facilitator. I'm so glad. I'm so absolutely happy. Wow. That's beautiful. Yes,
Yeah,
Jolanta.
that's amazing. I just wanted to say thank you for the class. I call them like slow paced classes. Like the the moon salutation was too fast for me. Like, I'm not great with vinyasas, but like this, when you break everything down to almost like a muscle and every bone, I just love it. I also felt like I took Tadasana for granted, you know, like just like you Chan was saying. So I really appreciate those classes. I just like, it's like they are delicious. Thank you so
Well,
much.
being a
Thank you.
restaurateur, I can appreciate delicious, let me tell you.
I also love the rose imaging. That's really was helpful.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad.
Also from the delicious department.
Yeah. Well,
Thank
thanks
you.
to everyone. Thanks for coming. Yeah, thanks so much. Tina, it's always great to have you, and I love your comments. And Sandra, I love having you in class. Kyla, Rosa, thanks Surya Prakash for showing up. Alfredo, and Barnita, and my dear Sylvia, and I know Antonia had to leave a little bit early. Cam, thanks for being my backup for my tech guy. And you, Chen, it's so nice to have you in class. I'm so glad you're here. Jolanta, you too. Jana, thank you for my Mama Lesh. Jean, Michelle, everyone, thanks so much for coming to class. And hopefully I'll see you next Tuesday. Good, as we say in the South, good Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. Okay, everyone. Ciao, ciao.
I have a question.
Yes. Yes.
I guess the class started earlier.
It starts at 8.
Okay.
Well, no, it depends on where you are. Where are you? Rose?
I'm in
It's-
California.
It starts at 6.
That just happened this week, right?
No, it's been happening. It's 7 on Tuesday and 6 on Thursday.
Oh, okay.
As soon as you guys spring forward, it'll be 7 both days.
Okay, got it. Well, I missed it today. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Well, it'll
I
be
just heard it.
online. The class will be online. It's like he gives him like 24 hours, and he's got it online. So
Oh,
yeah.
got it. Okay,
'Cause
thank you so much.
I'm going to have to go back and do the class, because I'm going to have to go back and listen to whatever that Jean and Yu Chen and everybody tasted today as a student. I'm going to go back and do the class.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Much, much love. Bye.